Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving deep into a truly fascinating, completely sweeping manifesto. We're going to unpack the teachings and writings of the guide Xuefeng, the founder of the Life Chuanyuan movement. Specifically, we're looking at a text he wrote to mark the 12th anniversary of what he calls Xuefeng-style communism. It's a bold, highly descriptive document, and we're going to break down exactly what it says and the worldview it constructs.
Okay, so here's our agenda for this explainer. 1. A new utopian vision. 2. Critiquing East and West. 3. 12 years of struggle. And 4. The only Noah's Ark.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, A New Utopian Vision, focusing on Xuefeng communism.
To really get this text, we have to start at the very beginning. According to the manifesto, this whole movement officially kicked off on April 18, 2009, over in Taiwan City, China. That's where a group calling themselves Chuanyuan Celestials first gathered. And who are they? Well, they're individuals defined by their absolute total dedication to living out the specific teachings of their founder, the guide, Xuefeng, under this banner of Xuefeng-style communism.
Now, what's truly staggering about this group is the sheer scale of their expansion. Think about the number 18 for a second. Over the past dozen years, since that initial gathering, Xuefeng notes that these Celestials have built 18 distinct homes. And they aren't just in one region either. This movement has spanned tens of thousands of kilometers, stretching from Xinjiang and Kunming in China all the way across the globe to Canada and Thailand. It's a massive, geographically expansive operation.
But, why start this global movement in the first place? Well, the guide Xuefeng diagnoses a fundamental, massive problem with the world. The text argues that traditional modes of production and life have failed humanity entirely. In fact, he asserts that if people don't change these traditional modes, they're doomed to face endless bitterness. So it's a complete, undeniable rejection of the status quo.
Which brings us right to Section 2, Critiquing East and West, a Bankrupt World.
To justify creating this breakaway society, Xuefeng offers a harsh, sweeping, and honestly very direct critique of both Eastern and Western civilizations. He breaks this down into a sharply dualistic worldview. On the Eastern side, he claims that the Chinese nation has contributed very little ideologically or scientifically for 2 millennia. He writes that ever since the Qin dynasty, the backbone of the nation has been broken, resulting in a culture that just suppresses new ideas. But hey, he doesn't spare the West either. He simultaneously asserts that the Western capitalist system is at a total dead end, and that traditional socialism is merely prolonging its last gasp. Basically, in his view, all existing political and religious systems are totally bankrupt.
He uses incredibly striking metaphors to drive this point home, too. Like he compares modern Chinese national pride to a beggar wearing fresh new clothing. He argues that modern society enjoys the fruits of Western civilization without any gratitude, describing this attitude as ignorant, arrogant, and ultimately, quote, pitiful and pathetic. So by tearing down both Eastern historical achievements and Western contemporary systems, Xuefeng clears the stage for his own solution. He positions his specific brand of communism not just as an alternative lifestyle, but as the absolute only path capable of elevating the Chinese nation. Ultimately, he claims it's going to surpass all Western values and become the singular beacon guiding all of humanity forward. It's a classic hallmark of utopian movements, right? The idea that the world is broken and we hold the only real cure.
Let's transition over to Section 3, 12 years of struggle, hardships, and humiliation.
Despite their impressive geographic expansion across continents, the manifesto paints a picture of immense, almost unbelievable suffering. Xuefeng describes 4 seasons, so 12 years, of severe hardships. He claims his followers were repeatedly forced out of their picturesque homes they built with their own sweat and blood, mind you, and they were made to continually move and rebuild their lives from the ruins, again and again. The text leans heavily into dramatic, high-contrast imagery to describe this outside resistance. He frames their struggle as an epic, almost mythic battle, claiming that barbarism shrouded the clear sky like sandstorms, flooding over their dams of civilization. It really paints the outside world as this chaotic, destructive force. Yet, despite these sandstorms of opposition, the group claims an absolutely flawless moral record. The manifesto insists that in an era of material desire and moral corruption, 0 Chuanyuan Celestials have committed a crime in over 12 years. 0. Furthermore, they claim to have caused no harm to human society or nature, strictly adhering to virtues like truth, kindness, beauty, and peace. They present themselves as this perfectly pure community existing in a really dark world.
And the text makes it abundantly clear that they are not going to compromise. They declare they will neither beg pitifully for a green light nor give up their dignity, regardless of the physical toll. Even if they face treacherous cliffs or must survive on stale bread and impure water, Xuefeng declares they'll just continue forward. It's a statement of absolute, unyielding resolve.
Moving into our final section, Section 4, the only Noah's Ark, a cosmic shift.
This brings us to the real climax of Xuefeng's manifesto, which culminates in an intense, apocalyptic warning for the future of humanity. To begin his conclusion, Xuefeng completely dismisses all outside intellectual efforts. Basically, if you are a philosopher, a thinker, or a sociologist, and you aren't practicing his specific style of communism, your work is nothing but self-sentimental groans. He literally calls them patches on old clothes. He argues that anyone not following his specific path is entirely blind to the laws of the universe and will ultimately lead society straight into fire pits.
He then pivots to a highly striking, super contemporary metaphor to explain the power of the universe. He writes about a plague god forcing the entire world to wear masks simultaneously, which is a very clear nod to global pandemics. The point he's making here is that when the universe decides to act, no human power, not even world presidents, can resist it. Everyone just has to obediently comply.
And this brings us to the ideological blueprint of his conclusion. The guide Xuefeng warns that the prelude to the great adjustment of life in the universe is already underway. He predicts that the plot of human history is about to become sudden, violent, and completely irresistible. In the face of this massive cosmic shift, there is only one solution. Presented in the text, people absolutely must sublimate into Xuefeng-style communism as quickly as possible. He ends the manifesto by declaring his movement the only Noah's Ark of our era. It's a powerful, absolute statement that relies on the intense contrast between a doomed outside world and a perfectly pure, saved community. And that leaves us to ponder a final, really provocative thought. In an era of such global uncertainty, what drives individuals to completely abandon traditional society for a promised Noah's Ark? By examining the teachings of Xuefeng, we get a fascinating, albeit intense glimpse into the human desire for absolute solutions in turbulent times. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning and keep learning.